In the world of werewolves, mates are bound by destiny. But what happens when your alpha betrays you? Watch as Lila catches the one she loves, with someone else. Will her heart shatter forever? Or can love survive the ultimate betrayal? This is the story you cannot miss. The forest was too quiet. Not peaceful. Not calm. But heavy, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. Lila felt it the moment she stepped past the boundary stones of the pack's sacred woods. The air brushed against her skin like a warning. Her wolf stirred uneasily inside her chest. Something is wrong. The golden light of the setting sun filtered through the towering trees, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the forest floor. Leaves crunched softly beneath her feet as she walked deeper into the clearing, the place she always came to think. The place where Jace first told her she was his mate. Her chest tightened at the memory. Just weeks ago, everything had felt perfect. Sacred. Unbreakable. Being chosen by the Alpha wasn't just an honor, it was destiny. A bond written by the moon goddess herself. A connection no one could challenge. Or so she believed. Lila wrapped her arms around herself, exhaling slowly. I thought being an alpha mate meant unwavering loyalty, she whispered to the empty woods. Her voice trembled. But today, everything feels different. A sudden sound broke the silence. Voices. Low. Close. Her heart skipped. No one else was supposed to be here. Instinctively, she moved behind a large oak tree, her breath slowing as her senses sharpened. Her wolf pushed forward, alert now, eyes wide inside her mind. Listen. The voices became clearer. A man. A woman. And then. She froze. That voice. She would recognize it anywhere. Jace. Her mate. Her alpha. Her everything. Her heartbeat began to pound violently against her ribs. Why is he here? He told her he had council duties tonight. Told her he'd be busy. Told her he couldn't see her. A strange unease twisted in her stomach. She leaned slightly, just enough to see past the tree. And then, her world shattered. Jace stood in the clearing. But he wasn't alone. Clara stood in front of him. Beautiful. Confident. Too close. Far too close. Lila's breath caught in her throat as she watched Clara place a hand on Jace's chest. And he didn't stop her. Didn't step back. Didn't move away. Time slowed. Every instinct screamed at Lila to step forward to demand answers, to mark her place, to remind the other wolf who he belonged to. But she couldn't move. Because deep down, she already knew. Clara leaned closer. Jace hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, Lila's heart begged. Please, don't do it. But he did. Their lips met. And the world went silent. No birds. No wind. No heartbeat. Just. Nothing. Lila felt something inside her crack. Not a clean break. Not something that could be fixed. But something deeper. Something that shattered into pieces too small to ever fully gather again. I can't believe this, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Her knees weakened, but she forced herself to stay upright. Forced herself to watch. Because somehow, the pain of seeing it was better than the doubt of not knowing. Jace didn't pull away immediately. And that hurt more than anything. Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not here. Not where they could see her. Clara smiled against his lips. Like she had one. Like she knew something Lila didn't. And maybe she did. Lila stepped back slowly, her body trembling. Every step felt like she was walking away from her own soul. My mate, she choked softly. My heart. Her wolf howled inside her. Not in anger. But in pain. Deep. Raw. Unbearable pain. Because in their world, a mate bond wasn't just love. It was identity. It was belonging. It was forever. And now, forever felt like a lie. She turned and ran. Branches scratched against her arms as she pushed through the forest, her breath coming in uneven gasps. The bond between her and Jace pulsed faintly in her chest. Still there. Still alive. Still connected. And that made it worse. Because she could still feel him. And somewhere, deep down, she knew. He could feel her too. Which meant, he knew she saw. But he didn't come after her. That was the final blow. Lila stopped running only when her legs gave out beneath her. She collapsed onto the forest floor, her hands digging into the dirt as sobs finally tore through her chest. Why, she cried. Why wasn't I enough? The question echoed into the trees. Unanswered. Unforgiving. The sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the forest into darkness. And for the first time since finding her mate, Lila felt completely alone. The night felt colder than it should have been. Lila stood at the edge of the pack territory, her chest rising and falling with uneven breaths as she stared at the towering gates ahead. The guards stationed there shifted uncomfortably when they saw her. They could sense it. The pain. The anger. The broken bond energy radiating off her like a storm about to explode. Luna, one of them, began cautiously. But Lila didn't respond. Didn't even look at them. Because right now, she wasn't their Luna. She was just a woman whose heart had been shattered. Open the gates, she said, her voice low but laced with something dangerous. The guards hesitated. Not because they didn't respect her, but because they could feel the tension in the air. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Still, no one dared question her. The gates creaked open slowly, and Lila walked in. Inside the pack grounds, everything looked the same. Wolves moved about. Laughter echoed faintly in the distance. Fires burned. Life continued. Like nothing had changed. But for Lila, everything had. Her steps were slow at first. Measured. Controlled. But the closer she got to the Alpha house, the faster her heartbeat climbed. The bond pulsed again. Stronger now. Like it was reacting to proximity. To him. Her jaw clenched. He feels me coming. Good. Let him. Let him feel everything. Let him feel the storm he created. The doors of the Alpha house stood tall and imposing. Just like the man inside. Lila didn't knock. Didn't hesitate. She pushed the doors open with force. They slammed against the walls with a loud bang that echoed through the entire hall. Every head turned. Conversations died instantly. The air went still. And then, he stepped forward. Jace. Her alpha. Her mate. The man who had just shattered her world. His silver eyes locked onto hers. And for a split second, something flickered in them. Shock. Guilt. Fear. Lila, he said softly. That voice. The same voice that once made her feel safe. Now it felt like poison. Don't, she snapped, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. The entire room tensed. No one had ever spoken to the Alpha like that before. No one. But Lila wasn't just anyone. She was his mate. Or at least, she was supposed to be. She walked toward him slowly. Each step deliberate. Each step heavy with emotion. You don't get to say my name like nothing happened, she said, her eyes blazing. Jace raised his hands slightly, as if approaching a wounded animal. Lila, listen to me. I said don't, she shouted. Her voice cracked, but it didn't weaken her. It fueled her. You lied to me, she continued, her breathing uneven. You told me you had council duties. Her eyes locked onto his. Sharp. Piercing. But instead, her voice dropped, trembling now. You were with her. A murmur spread through the room. Whispers. Confusion. Tension. Jace's jaw tightened. It's not what it looked like, he said quickly. And that was the wrong thing to say. Lila let out a bitter, broken laugh. Not what it looked like, she repeated. You were kissing her, Jace. Her voice echoed off the walls. I saw you. Silence. Heavy. Unforgiving silence. For a moment, Jace said nothing. And that silence. It hurt more than any words. Say something, Lila demanded, her voice softer now but more dangerous. Explain it. Jace ran a hand through his hair, frustration flashing across his face. "I made a mistake," he said finally. The words hit like a slap. A mistake. That's what he called it. The bond between them flickered painfully in Lila's chest. "A mistake," she whispered. Her eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. "I am your mate." Her voice broke. "Your fated mate." Jace stepped closer. "Lila, you are the only one I want." "Then why did you kiss her?" she screamed. The room shook with the force of her voice. Even the strongest wolves felt it. Because this wasn't just anger. This was a mate bond in pain. Jace stopped moving. For the first time. He didn't have an answer ready. And that silence confirmed everything. Lila nodded slowly, like she finally understood something. "Wow," she breathed. "So this is what I am to you." "No," Jace said immediately. "That's not true." "Then tell me the truth," she shot back. "Because right now, all I see is a man who couldn't even respect the bond blessed by the moon goddess." Gasps filled the room. That was serious. No one spoke of the sacred bond lightly. Jace's eyes darkened slightly. Not in anger. But in something deeper. Conflict. "Lila," he said quietly, stepping closer again. This time. She didn't move back. But she didn't soften either. "There are things you don't understand," he said. And there it was. Another excuse. Another half-truth. Another wall. Lila shook her head slowly. "Then make me understand," she said. Her voice was calm now. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes before something breaks completely. Jace hesitated. And that hesitation was everything. Lila let out a shaky breath. "Do you love her?" she asked. The question hung in the air like a blade. Sharp. Dangerous. Deadly. Jace's eyes widened slightly. "No," he said firmly. Too quickly. Too easily. And somehow, that didn't comfort her. "Then why did you let her touch you?" Lila pressed. "Why did you let her get that close?" Jace clenched his fists. "It meant nothing." Lila flinched. "Because those words hurt the most." "It meant nothing," she repeated softly. Tears finally slipped down her cheeks. "But it meant everything to me." The room felt suffocating. No one moved. No one spoke. They were witnessing something sacred break apart. And no one could stop it. Lila wiped her tears roughly, as if she was angry at herself for crying. "For weeks, I've given you everything," she said. "My trust. My heart. My loyalty." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "My soul." She looked up at him. And in her eyes, there was no anger now. Just pain. Deep, endless pain. "And this is what I get." Jace stepped forward again, desperate now. "Lila, please." But this time, she stepped back. And that small movement felt like a wall slamming between them. "I don't recognize you anymore," she said quietly. Jace froze. "And I don't recognize myself either," she added. Her voice was empty now. Like something inside her had shut down. "I thought I wasn't enough," she continued. "I thought maybe I did something wrong." She shook her head slowly. "But no." Her eyes hardened. "This is on you." Jace swallowed hard. "Lila, I will fix this," he said. "I promise." But promises didn't mean much anymore. Lila looked at him one last time. Really looked at him. As if trying to memorize the man she thought she knew. Then she spoke. Slowly. Clearly. And with finality. "I need space." The words hit harder than a scream. Jace's expression shifted instantly. "No. I need space, Jace," she repeated. "And if you care about me at all." Her voice trembled slightly. "You'll give me that." Without waiting for a response, she turned. And walked away. This time, no one tried to stop her. Not the guards. Not the pack. Not even him. And Jace, the alpha, the most powerful wolf in the territory, stood there, frozen, helpless, watching his mate walk away. The aftermath. The silence in Lila's room was unbearable. Not the peaceful kind. Not the comforting kind. But the kind that pressed down on her chest like a weight she couldn't lift. The door shut behind her with a soft click. And just like that, the world outside disappeared. No pack. No voices. No Alpha. Just her. Alone. Lila didn't move at first. She stood there, her back against the door, staring into the dimly lit room like she didn't recognize it anymore. This was supposed to be her safe place. Her sanctuary. The place she came to feel close to him. Now it felt like a cage filled with memories she couldn't escape. Her knees finally gave out. She slid slowly to the floor, her body trembling as she pulled her legs close to her chest. And then, the tears came. Not soft. Not quiet. But raw. Uncontrolled. Broken. A sob tore through her chest as she buried her face in her arms. "Why does it hurt this much?" she cried. Her voice echoed softly in the empty room. But there was no answer. The mate bond pulsed faintly. Still there. Still alive. Still connected to him. And that made everything worse. Because even now, she could feel him. Faint. Distant. But there. A dull ache in her chest that refused to disappear. "I don't want to feel you," she whispered, gripping her shirt tightly. "I don't want this." Her wolf stirred weakly inside her. Not angry. Not aggressive. Just wounded. "He hurt us." Lila squeezed her eyes shut. "I know." Memories flooded her mind without warning. Jace's smile. The way he looked at her the first time he called her his mate. The warmth of his touch. The way he promised, "I will never hurt you." A broken laugh escaped her lips. "Liar." But even as she said it, her heart didn't fully believe it. And that confused her even more. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time didn't make sense anymore. The moon had risen high in the sky, its pale light slipping through the window and casting soft shadows across the room. Lila lay on her bed now, staring at the ceiling. Empty. Numb. Exhausted. Her tears had dried, but the pain hadn't. It had only changed. From sharp and burning, to deep and constant. "Was I not enough?" she whispered. The question lingered in the air. Heavy. Dangerous. Because once it entered her mind, it refused to leave. She sat up slowly, wrapping her arms around herself again. Maybe I wasn't strong enough. Maybe I wasn't what an alpha needed. Maybe. No. The word came out suddenly. Firm. Unexpected. Lila blinked. Her wolf stirred again. Stronger this time. No. She inhaled slowly. Shakily. No, she repeated, this time louder. Her eyes hardened slightly. This isn't my fault. The realization didn't erase the pain. But it shifted something inside her. Something small. Something important. A knock came at the door. Soft. Careful. Lila, a familiar voice called gently. Zoe. Lila closed her eyes briefly. Part of her wanted to ignore it. To stay in this quiet pain where no one could see her. But another part. The part that didn't want to break completely. Needed someone. "Come in," she said softly. The door creaked open slowly. Zoe stepped inside, her eyes immediately scanning the room before landing on Lila. And the moment she saw her, her expression changed. Concern. Pain. Understanding. "Oh, Lila," she breathed. In 2 quick steps, she crossed the room and pulled her into a tight embrace. And that was all it took. The tears came back. Fresh. Hot. Unstoppable. "I saw them." Lila sobbed into her shoulder. "I saw everything." Zoe held her tighter. "I know," she whispered. "I heard." Lila pulled back slightly, her face streaked with tears. "Everyone knows?" she asked, her voice breaking again. Zoe hesitated. And that hesitation said everything. A wave of humiliation crashed over Lila. "Great," she whispered bitterly. "Not only did he break me," she laughed weakly, "but now I'm a story." Zoe shook her head quickly. "No, that's not true." "It is," Lila cut in softly. And you know it. Silence settled between them. But it wasn't empty. It was understanding. Zoe gently wiped a tear from Lila's cheek. Listen to me, she said firmly. You are not the problem here. Lila looked away. It doesn't feel that way. Zoe tilted her chin back gently so their eyes met. That's because you love him, she said. And love makes you question yourself when it shouldn't. Lila's lips trembled. I trusted him, Zoe. I gave him everything. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And he still chose someone else, even if it was just for a moment. Zoe's expression softened. Then that's on him, she said quietly. Not you. Lila shook her head. But how do I move past this? She asked. How do I look at him again and not see that moment? Her chest tightened. How do I feel this bond, and not feel pain? Zoe didn't answer immediately, because there wasn't an easy answer. Finally, she spoke. You don't rush it, she said gently. You don't force forgiveness. You don't pretend you're okay when you're not. She squeezed Lila's hand. You take your time. Lila swallowed hard. And if I can't forgive him? Zoe held her gaze. Then you walk away. The words hit hard. Because for the first time, that felt real. Possible. Terrifying. The bond pulsed again. Stronger this time. Lila winced slightly. He's trying to reach me, she whispered. Zoe frowned. Are you going to respond? Lila hesitated. Her heart said yes. Her pain said no. I don't know, she admitted. She stood slowly, walking toward the window. The moonlight bathed her in silver. Her reflection stared back at her in the glass. But she didn't look the same. Something had changed. Something inside her had cracked. But something else was starting to form. I need to find myself, she said quietly. Zoe smiled softly. That's the strongest thing you've said all night. Lila exhaled slowly. I love him, she admitted. The truth hurt. But I won't lose myself loving him. Her eyes hardened slightly. I won't be the girl who begs for loyalty. I won't be the mate who accepts betrayal. Zoe nodded proudly. That's my Lila. For the first time since everything happened, Lila felt something shift inside her. Not healing. Not yet. But strength. Quiet. Fragile. But real. And sometimes, that was enough to begin. The morning came too quickly. Lila hadn't really slept. Not fully. Not peacefully. Her body had rested, but her mind had replayed everything over and over again like a curse she couldn't break. The kiss. Jace's silence. The way he didn't come after her. It all looped endlessly. Soft golden sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a gentle glow across the room. It should have felt warm. Comforting. But to Lila, it felt cold. Distant. Like a reminder that the world kept moving, even when hers had stopped. She sat up slowly, her body heavy, her chest tight. Her wolf stirred faintly. Still hurting. Still connected. Still aware of him. And that connection was getting stronger again. He's trying again, Lila whispered. Her fingers pressed lightly against her chest. The bond pulsed. Not painful this time, but persistent. Like a knock she couldn't ignore forever. Her jaw tightened. No. She stood from the bed. I'm not ready. A knock came at the door again. But this time, it wasn't gentle. It wasn't hesitant. It was firm. Confident. Zoe. Come in, Lila said, already knowing. The door opened, and Zoe walked in carrying a small tray. Food. Tea. Care. She placed it on the table without a word, then turned to look at Lila. And immediately, her expression sharpened. You didn't sleep, Zoe said. Not a question. A fact. Lila gave a small, tired smile. Was it that obvious? Zoe crossed her arms. You look like you fought a war. Lila exhaled softly. Feels like it too. Zoe studied her for a moment. Then her tone shifted. Less soft. More serious. Have you talked to him? Lila's expression hardened instantly. No. Why? Because I'm not ready. Zoe tilted her head slightly. Or because you're afraid of what he'll say? The question hit deeper than Lila expected. I'm not afraid, she said quickly. But the slight hesitation gave her away. Zoe stepped closer. Lila, she said gently, you deserve the truth. I saw the truth, Lila replied coldly. No, Zoe said firmly. You saw a moment. Lila frowned slightly. And what difference does that make? Zoe's eyes narrowed just a bit. Because moments don't always tell the whole story. That made Lila pause. Just for a second. Her mind flashed back to that night. To the hesitation she saw in Jace before the kiss. To the strange look in his eyes. To the way Clara smiled. Like she knew something. Lila shook her head quickly. No, she said. I'm not doing this. Doing what? Zoe asked. Making excuses for him. Zoe sighed softly. I'm not asking you to forgive him, she said. I'm asking you to understand what really happened. Lila looked away. And what if understanding makes it worse? Zoe didn't hesitate. Then at least you'll know the truth. Silence filled the room. But this silence was different. It wasn't heavy. It was thinking. Processing. Questioning. Lila's thoughts began to shift. Not completely, but enough to let something else in. Doubt. Not about herself, but about what she saw. Zoe walked toward the window, her eyes scanning the outside world. Then she spoke. Quietly. Can I ask you something? Lila nodded slightly. What do you know about Clara? The question caught her off guard. What do you mean? I mean exactly that, Zoe said, turning back to her. What do you really know about her? Lila blinked. Not much, she admitted. She joined the pack a few months ago. Zoe nodded slowly. Exactly. Lila frowned. Where are you going with this? Zoe's expression grew serious. Don't you think it's strange? Strange how? Zoe stepped closer again, lowering her voice slightly. That someone new suddenly gets that close to the alpha. Lila's chest tightened. She didn't just get close, she said quietly. She kissed him. Zoe held her gaze. Are you sure she wasn't the one pushing it? Lila froze. Because now. Her mind was replaying the scene again. But differently. Clara stepping closer. Clara placing her hand on his chest. Clara leaning in first. Clara smiling. Her heart skipped. No, Lila whispered. But this time. There was uncertainty in her voice. Zoe saw it immediately. You felt it too, didn't you? She asked softly. Lila swallowed hard. I don't know. Zoe stepped even closer. Then find out. The bond pulsed again. Stronger. More urgent. Lila winced slightly. He's really trying, she said. Zoe nodded. Good. Lila frowned. Good. Yes, Zoe said firmly. Because that means he hasn't given up. Lila turned away, her emotions rising again. But what if I don't like what I hear? She asked. Zoe's voice softened. Then you walk away knowing you didn't build your decision on assumptions. That hit differently. Because deep down, Lila knew something. She wasn't just hurt. She was confused. Because part of her, a small part, still believed in him. And that part refused to stay silent. Zoe placed a hand on her shoulder. You're not weak for wanting answers, she said. You're strong for facing them. Lila closed her eyes briefly, taking that in, feeling it, letting it settle. Outside, the wind picked up slightly. The trees swayed. The world moved. And something inside Lila shifted again. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But clarity. Purpose. She opened her eyes. They have a meeting tonight, she said suddenly. Zoe raised a brow. The council. Lila nodded. He'll be there. Zoe smiled slightly. Then that's your chance. Lila's heart began to race. Not from fear, but from something else. Determination. I'm not going there as his mate, she said. Zoe's smile widened. Good. Lila's eyes hardened. I'm going there for the truth. The bond pulsed again. But this time. Lila didn't push it away. She let herself feel it. Just a little. Just enough to remind herself. This wasn't over. Not yet. The truth revealed. Night fell like a curtain over the Packlands. The sky was dark. Heavy. Clouds drifted slowly across the moon, casting shifting shadows over the territory. It felt tense. Like the world itself knew something was about to happen. The council hall stood tall at the center of the pack grounds. Ancient. Powerful. A place where truth was spoken. And secrets were buried. Tonight. It would hold both. Lila stood just outside the entrance. Her heart pounded. Not from fear. But from anticipation. From the need to finally understand. Her hands clenched slightly at her sides. I'm ready, she whispered to herself. But deep down, she knew this moment could either heal her, or destroy what was left of her. The doors opened, and she stepped inside. The room fell silent. Instantly, all eyes turned to her. Whispers spread like wildfire. Because everyone knew. Everyone had heard. But no one expected her to show up like this. Not broken. Not hiding. But standing tall. Strong. Unshaken. At the far end of the hall, he stood. Jace. Dressed in his alpha attire. Powerful. Commanding. But the moment his eyes met hers, that strength cracked. Just slightly. Lila, he breathed. Her name sounded different this time. Not soft. Not casual. But desperate. She didn't respond. Didn't soften. Didn't stop walking. Each step echoed through the hall. Slow. Steady. Intentional. Until she stood directly in front of him. Close enough to feel his presence. Close enough to feel the bond. Stronger than ever. It pulsed sharply in her chest. Demanding attention. Demanding connection. But Lila held her ground. I'm not here as your mate, she said calmly. The words cut through him. Visible. Immediate. I'm here for the truth. The council members shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. But no one dared interrupt. Because something bigger was unfolding. Jace swallowed hard. You deserve that, he said quietly. Then start talking. Before he could. A voice cut through the room. Smooth. Confident. Dangerous. Well, this should be interesting. Lila's body went rigid. She knew that voice. Clara stepped forward from the shadows. And this time, she wasn't pretending. The softness she once carried was gone. Replaced by something sharper. Something calculated. Lila turned slowly to face her. And for the first time, she really looked at her. Not as a rival, but as a threat. Say what you have to say, Lila said coldly. Clara smiled. And it wasn't kind. Oh, I will. Jace's expression darkened instantly. Clara, don't. But she cut him off. Or what? She challenged. You'll finally tell her the truth. Silence. Heavy. Explosive. Lila's heart began to race. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about a kiss anymore. Clara took a step forward. Then another. Until she stood just a few feet away from Lila. You think you saw betrayal, Clara said softly. But what you actually saw, her smile widened slightly, was control. Lila's breath caught. What are you talking about? She demanded. Clara tilted her head. You really don't know, do you? Jace stepped forward quickly. That's enough, he said firmly. But Clara laughed. No, she said. It's not. And then, she dropped the truth. I wasn't trying to steal him, Clara said. I was testing him. The room erupted into murmurs. Confusion. Shock. Disbelief. But Lila. Lila stood frozen. Testing him, she whispered. Clara nodded slowly. Yes. Her eyes gleamed with something dark. Because not everyone in this pack believes you should be Luna. The words hit like a thunderstrike. Lila staggered slightly. What? Jace's fists clenched. Clara, stop. But she didn't. There are those who think you're too weak, Clara continued. Too emotional. Too human. Each word cut deeper. More precise. More cruel. Lila's chest tightened painfully. Her worst fears. Spoken out loud. So they sent you? Lila asked, her voice shaking. Clara's smile returned. Yes. The room went silent again. Because now. This wasn't just personal. This was political. Dangerous. I was sent to see if your alpha would break, Clara said. To see if his loyalty to you was strong enough. Her eyes flicked briefly to Jace. Or if it could be influenced. Lila turned slowly toward Jace. Her heart pounding violently. Is this true? She asked. Jace didn't answer immediately. And that hesitation felt like a knife. Yes, he said finally. The word echoed. Heavy. Unavoidable. Lila's world tilted again. But this time. It wasn't just pain. It was something else. Anger. You knew? She asked. Jace stepped closer. I suspected. Suspected, she repeated. And you still let it happen? His voice broke slightly. I needed proof. Lila laughed. But there was no humor in it. So you used yourself as bait, she said. And what about me? Her voice cracked. Was I part of the test too? No. Jace said immediately. Never. But the damage was done. Clara watched them both with amusement. See, she said softly. Even now, you're breaking. Lila turned sharply toward her. And this time. There was no sadness in her eyes. Only fire. You wanted to test him? Lila said. Her voice low. Dangerous. Clara raised a brow. Yes. Lila stepped forward, closing the distance between them. Then you should have tested me too. Before anyone could react. Lila's hand shot out, grabbing Clara by the collar. Her golden eyes flared brightly, glowing with power, with authority, with something undeniable. I am not weak, Lila said, her voice echoing with strength. I am not replaceable. And I am certainly not someone you get to play games with. The room held its breath. Because in that moment, Lila didn't look like a broken mate. She looked like a Luna. A true one. Clara's smile faltered. Just slightly. For the first time. She looked uncertain. Jace watched in silence. And something inside him shifted. Because now, he saw her clearly. Not as someone fragile, but as someone powerful. Lila released Clara slowly, pushing her back. This ends now, she said firmly. Clara straightened her clothes, her expression tightening. We'll see about that, she replied. But her confidence was cracking. Lila turned back to Jace, her expression unreadable. This isn't over, she said. And then, she walked away. Again. But this time, she wasn't running. She was rising. Forgiveness or goodbye. The night air felt different. Lighter. But heavier at the same time. Like something had ended. And something new was waiting to begin. Lila walked alone through the forest. The same forest. The same path. The same place where everything had fallen apart. Only this time, she wasn't the same girl who ran away in tears. The moon hung high above her, glowing softly. Its silver light wrapped around her like a quiet reminder. Of who she was. Of what she carried. Of what she had survived. Her steps slowed as she reached the clearing. That clearing. Where she saw them. Where her heart broke. Where everything changed. She stopped at the center. Closed her eyes. And took a deep breath. I'm not the same anymore, she whispered. Her voice was calm. Steady. Certain. The bond pulsed. Strong. Clear. Closer. She didn't need to turn around to know. He was there. Jace. I didn't think you'd come, he said quietly from behind her. His voice carried something it never had before. Not power. Not control. But humility. Lila opened her eyes slowly. I almost didn't, she admitted. Then she turned. And there he was. No guards. No title. No alpha presence. Just a man. Standing in front of the woman he hurt. For a moment. Neither of them spoke. Because some silences say everything. Jace took a step forward. Then stopped. Like he wasn't sure if he was allowed any closer. I owe you more than an explanation, he said. I owe you the truth, and an apology. Lila crossed her arms gently. Not defensive. But guarded. I'm listening. Jace exhaled slowly. I knew something wasn't right about Clara, he began. I felt it from the moment she arrived. His jaw tightened. But I didn't know how deep it went. Lila held his gaze. So you let her get close, she said. Not accusing. Just stating. Jace nodded. I thought if I played along, I could expose whatever she was hiding. His voice dropped. But I didn't think about what it would cost you. Lila's chest tightened slightly. Because this time, he wasn't making excuses. He was owning it. I never wanted to hurt you, he continued. And the moment she kissed me, he paused. Pain flashing across his face. I knew I made the worst mistake of my life. Lila's heart reacted instantly. Because the bond didn't lie. She could feel his regret. Raw. Real. Then why didn't you come after me? She asked quietly. That question had been sitting in her heart all along. Jace looked down briefly. Ashamed. I did, he said. Lila frowned slightly. You didn't. He shook his head. I followed you, but I stopped. Why? His voice was barely above a whisper. Because I could feel your pain through the bond. He looked up at her. And I realized. I didn't deserve to reach for you in that moment. That hit differently. Not defensive. Not proud. Just honest. Silence settled between them again. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was open. Lila turned slightly, looking up at the moon. I loved you without question, she said softly. Jace's chest tightened. I know. I trusted you completely. Her voice didn't shake. But it carried weight. And when I saw you with her, she closed her eyes briefly. It broke something inside me. Jace stepped forward instinctively, but stopped himself again. I don't hate you, Lila continued. And that's what makes this harder. Jace's voice cracked slightly. Lila. She turned back to him. Her eyes glowed softly. Not with anger. Not with pain. But with clarity. I understand what happened, she said. I see the truth now. She took a slow breath. And I believe you. Hope flickered in Jace's eyes. Small. Fragile. But, Lila added. And that one word shifted everything. Understanding doesn't erase pain, she said. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. She stepped closer. Not fully closing the distance. But enough. I need time, she said firmly. Time to heal. Time to breathe. Time to become whole again, on my own. Jace nodded immediately. No conditions, he said. No pressure. His voice softened. I'll wait. Lila studied him carefully, as if measuring his truth. His patience. His growth. And if I choose not to come back, she asked. Jace didn't hesitate. Then I'll accept it. The words hurt him. That was clear. But he didn't take them back. Lila's heart ached. Because this was the man she fell in love with. Not the alpha. Not the leader. But the man who could put her before himself. She exhaled slowly. I'm not promising anything, she said. I'm not giving you certainty. Jace nodded. I don't need certainty. He looked at her. I just need a chance. The bond between them pulsed again. But this time, it didn't hurt. It felt quiet. Waiting. Lila took one final step back. Creating space. but not distance. This isn't the end, she said. But it's not the beginning either. Jace gave a small, understanding nod. It's something in between. Lila allowed the faintest hint of a smile. Exactly. She turned and began to walk away. Not running. Not broken. But strong. And Jace didn't follow. Because this time, he understood. The moonlight followed her as she disappeared into the forest. And for the first time since everything happened, Lila felt something new. Not pain. Not anger. Not confusion. Peace. Because sometimes, love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go. And seeing what comes back. If this story touched your heart, like this video to support more emotional werewolf stories. Comment, would you forgive Jace, or walk away forever? Subscribe for more intense alpha, Luna, and forbidden love stories, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story.